Well, hello there, everybody. Gulf Coast meteorologist Jim Dickey back with another edition of Tropics Talk. Welcome to September. Yeah, as you likely know, September tends to be the most active month in any given hurricane season, and happy to report, still at this point, this September, at least the start of it, still in that lull in activity we've been in since Fernand fell apart. There are no named storms out there across the basin. It's very quiet across the Gulf and the Caribbean. As I put this into motion here, this is a non-tropical low east of Florida, swirling there, brought some nasty weather to the east coast of Florida yesterday, but non-tropical. It's attached to fronts. This is not expected to develop into anything tropical as it drifts away to the north and east. No, the only area marked for potential development right now in the Atlantic is way out here in the eastern side of the basin. This cluster of thunderstorms here, now well south and west of the Cabo Verde Islands, drifting very slowly to the west and northwest. But the models are turning pretty bullish on development chances with this one, and the Hurricane Center sort of following suit. This is the 8 o'clock a.m. Tuesday update, the tropical weather outlook from 8 a.m. this morning. And the development chances have risen, both in the short term and the long term. 2-day development chances now up to 30%. 7-day development chances now up to 70%. Hence the red shade, now high development chance for the Hurricane Center, saying this is likely to become at least a tropical depression in the next 7 days as it works slowly to the west and northwest. And that's the key. This is a slow mover, and we're still talking. This path sort of marks out the next 7 days, so the edge of this is sort of where this would be by day 7, still to the east of the Caribbean. We're talking not until next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday does this approach the Caribbean, if it even is going to approach the Caribbean. Now, we're still very early in the game with this, and once we get this sort of coalesce a little more, the models will actually have something to latch onto. Then we have a little more faith in what they're saying as far as the path, what this is going to take, and the chances of direct impacts from this in the Caribbean, in the Leeward Islands. This is the GFS forecast model, and it sort of illustrates the two schools of thought with this in the models right now when you pour through the data. If this forms quickly, if this comes together before the week is out, then it almost certainly gains latitude quickly too and tracks into the central Atlantic. Here you go. The GFS forecast model, as it often does, usually incorrectly, ramps this up quickly. We already have what would likely be at the very least a tropical storm, if not a hurricane, on this model by Thursday evening. And then that tracks basically to the north and west. The due westerly course going through 2 o'clock on Sunday, but you can see at this point it is already north of the Leeward Islands of the Greater Antilles, and generally speaking, something that is that far north that early in the game, that tends to recurve into the central Atlantic. And we look at the ensemble plots from the GFS, that's what it shows. But every member of the ensemble GFS keeps this into the open Atlantic, taking a path somewhat similar to what Fernand did. But here is the ensemble of the European forecast model. It tends to keep this a little more weak and disorganized as it drifts to the west, and therefore not really bringing it together until it gets just east of the outer edges of the Caribbean. Just remember what this is showing here. The ensemble takes the parent model and tweaks it a number of different ways and then runs those variants of the model out concurrently, and as such, you look at what the different members are saying, you can get an idea of the probability of a given outcome. In this case, about 50%, about half of the members have something of tropical depression strength east of the Caribbean. This late next week. This is specifically on Thursday. So again, a slow mover. We still have more than a week to watch this thing before it nears the Caribbean, but with a more westerly course, a more southerly track, this would bring impacts to the Caribbean into play. Of note, this one too, in the longer range, does tend to show a turn to the north, and I do think that's going to be the case with this one. There's going to be that trough still draped off the east coast of the U.S., so eventually this would be likely to turn to the north. But again, it's one we'll be watching closely, and we still have a long way to watch it. And this is what we expect to see as we get into September. History tells us we have to watch these disturbances more closely that move off of Africa because they are more likely to form this month than any other month in the calendar year. You see where storms form and track. The deep red area basically marks out those African easterly waves that track west, and then yeah, often turn to the north, but not always. Some take a more westerly course. Thankfully, that's the case with this one, but we'll be watching. And actually, I do want to go back real quickly because as you look at that ensemble, this is by the end of next week. It shows another wave coming off of Africa and another disturbance that would have a chance to form. Yes, as September does tend to be the most active month during any given hurricane season. History tells us that. This is showing, plotting out all of the storms by date, all of the named storms by date that have formed over the last 100 years that have been out there in the Atlantic. Uptick in activity from mid-August through mid-October, but in particular, the first 2-3 weeks of September tends to be the heart of the season. So it would be unusual to not see something developing over the next week or two, and I do think we'll get, at the very least, that next storm to form later on this week, taking the name Gabrielle, if not multiple disturbances in the next couple of weeks here too. So yeah, plenty more hurricane season ahead of us. Anything out there, we'll be tracking it for you, including what's going on out there in the Eastern Atlantic. So now is the time. Be sure not only that you're stocked up with your hurricane supplies before a storm threatens, if potentially it does, but also that you're checking in regularly on what's going on out there. No, nothing to worry about for Florida right now, but it's important to keep an eye on the forecast, on the updates on the tropics as we do head into this peak of hurricane season. And of course, I'll keep you updated right here on Tropics Talk the rest of the way. Until next time, I'm Gulf Coast meteorologist Jim Dickey. Have a great Tuesday.